We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. We're back in the studio with Jaren's dad.
No, and your best friend, right?
My best friend, Chad.
Wait, Trevor, I thought we were best friends.
I'm also, you're my best friend.
Trevor is my son, and now I guess I'm adopting your son. So how does this work?
I thought we were friends.
So Trevor is like your nephew or something, and Jaren, I don't know.
I thought we were all friends, but
we're all
it's a weird thing going on here.
Except you're too young to hang out with guys like us. We're way too old.
But I do hang out with you guys.
So we're father.
I see both of you the most out of anyone else that we hang out with.
All right, so we all hang out together. So we're doing this episode for you. We want to know more about Chad and deals, and we talked a little bit in the last episode how you're expanding you're spreading your wings, expanding your portfolio, going into different asset types. You dream of mobile home parks and self-storage. So instead you went out and bought an office complex.
Yeah, that's
good.
It wasn't an office complex.
Well, yeah, it's kind of.
What you're saying is you don't have a buy box yet.
No,
just buying everything you can get your hands on.
So
no, I don't have a buy box.
This deal we're going to talk about, it's the biggest deal you've done, right?
Yeah,
okay.
By far.
And when did you close on it?
Whoa. Oh, okay. Go ahead with that part.
I closed on it last Friday.
Okay.
So this is fresh.
So yeah, I want to dive through the whole story, like into the details of how you got into this deal, how you went about it, how you analyzed it, like what it all looked like, what you're planning to do with it, so people can really understand your thinking.
Okay. So the deal was brought to me by a broker that so all my work comes from commercial brokers, pretty much people that are out leasing, buying, selling buildings. And so a lot of times they need me in order to put the budgets together, see if they can make things happen. So I have pretty good relationships with the commercial brokers in town. And one of them called me one day and said, "Hey, I have this building that one of my clients wants to sell. And, it's kind of got a weird set of needs around it. And I think that you would fit the mold really well. Are you interested in looking at it?" And I said, "Sure." I mean, yeah. Again, that's one of those opportunity things where I'll just say, yeah, even if it was something I wasn't completely interested, I'd still go look, because why not? So, we went and looked at it, and it was actually a really awesome building, and I got super excited really quick. And he had talked about, and he was pretty excited about it too. He wanted to partner on it and basically give me the down payment money. So I could have done it without any money down and then partnered on it. But I don't really like partnerships that much, or maybe I just don't have any experience in them, but I tend to go away from doing partnerships.
Every deal you've done is a partnership, though, almost.
Like with his son.
With Jaren.
Well, the three, yeah, the apartments, West Salem, the land.
That was just you?
Yeah.
Okay.
The two pieces of land I have aren't. Anyway, so we went and looked at it. I got super excited. In the first, couple of weeks, he decided that he didn't want to partner. His wife didn't want him to partner or whatever, however it worked out.
She didn't personally like you, so she was like, "Don't partner with that guy." Or
well, no, he had gotten to a partnership before and somebody burned him, and so she was just. And honestly, I didn't want to partner.
You reminded him of that guy?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I remind everybody of that guy. So anyway, she didn't want him to, and that was honestly a little bit of a relief for me, because I don't know that I wanted a partner anyway. But the piece of property, basically, the person that owns it and occupies it right now. And it's two buildings. The front building is an office building. It's about 8,000 square feet. There's another building on the piece of property, 10,000 square feet.
One tax lot?
Correct. One tax lot. The front building that's 8,000 square feet is office. Back is warehouse.
Okay.
So non-heated warehouse. CMU construction. The front building's tilt-up.
What's CMU construction?
CMU is the block. So like
cinder block?
Concrete blocks.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a brick building?
Block.
No, block. Like a big block. Like the gray
It's
color.
one big block.
No. It's lots of
Yeah.
blocks.
It's lots of little blocks.
We don't need to teach you construction on this podcast, I'm pretty sure.
You know what a cinder block is?
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of those stacked on top of each other.
Okay.
So when, like in the commercial world, when we're talking about buildings, if you have a building that's a tilt up, like concrete tilt up panels,
What
right?
does that mean?
It's like big piece of concrete that they tilt.
They poured the
just-
concrete,
you
it's
just pour
set, and then they
concrete
tilt
and
it
then
up,
Yeah.
and that's the wall.
So instead of it being like wood framed or steel stud framed, like it's or brick, it's made out of these two. These are more like commercial industrial, and they're really rigid and robust. And so that was appealing to me too. It's 2 acres, and it's paved. All 2 acres is paved.
That's a
talking
lot
to
of
your bike?
pavement.
Yeah, and when you're talking about 2 acres of pavement in today's money, that's a big chunk of change. Like,
How much?
that's
Half
probably
mil?
That's probably for that lot would probably be like $350,000. Yeah, because you take the footprints of the buildings out of them, and there is a little bit of landscaping, but it was perfect for the things that I like. My brain saw it and said, "Ooh, I like this."
What do you like?
I like flat lots with big buildings that are built in robust materials. So that was for me. I think that in his mind, he was thinking for my business to move into it.
Gotcha. So he brought you to this property. Did he tell you like much about it, price wise or anything? Or he's like, just come check out the property. Let's go walk it.
Yeah, we walked it, and I met the current owner, and he gave me the rundown at the beginning. They wanted $2.5 million. They wanted $500,000 down. I think they started at 8% interest, 25-year AM. Just kind of, like a normal deal, I guess.
Just crappy terms.
Just crappy terms.
Well, not terrible, but the interest rate.
Yeah, the interest rate was terrible.
Not too far off from market. 25-year AM, 8%.
That's a little far off.
I think on that asset type,
So-
you're probably
but-
pretty close.
But part of that was that they would carry it. And so I think they feel like they had some pull there because they're saying, "Oh, well, we're carrying it. You don't have to go to a bank or get pre-approval."
I mean, but they're just carrying it at the same terms as a bank, but worse at almost.
Yeah, if you carry it at worse terms as a seller, you got to be careful because that means you're trying to attract a borrower who doesn't qualify for a bank loan.
Correct.
Because otherwise, you'll just go to the bank and get a better.
So they
loan.
came to you and they're like, "This guy doesn't qualify for a bank loan. Let's do this."
No, I qualify for the bank loan, but I think the part here is that there's one person in charge, but there's kind of a trust of people that are involved in making the decision. And one of them had read some book at some point about interest rates, and he was this guru on how he was going to make the trust more money. And so he was really sticky on the interest rate.
Move this with you as you talk.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he was really sticky on the interest rate, and that was his doing. But the whole purpose of selling the building is the gentleman that was in charge of it, that owns the business, that occupies it. He's just getting old, and when he passes, he doesn't want his kids to have the burden of dealing with the real estate because they run a very successful business, and he wants them to focus on that. So there was 2 other people that the broker had brought to meet this person, and that person didn't really like that the two other people that were brought to him. So it was more of a relationship thing.
Sounds like a trend with a lot of the deals you do.
Yeah, it's the person.
And I didn't think you were a very likable guy, so it's really weird that
Yeah.
you keep getting all this.
I get that a lot. I get that I'm intimidating, and people are.
Oh, I wasn't thinking intimidating. You're pretty short.
Yeah. Did I tell you about my guns? Yeah, they shoot really high.
He's going to show them to you tonight. He's going to lock you in his vault.
Yeah. So anyway, it was kind of a relationship buy. They needed the right person to fit the puzzle and make it all work. So anyway, I left that meeting. I was pretty excited about it. I called Trevor. I tend to do this. Like the people that I trust that are in my circle, I call them. I get their information, like their feedback and what they think and what their brain says to them. And I go get all that information from everybody. And then I try and make a decision based off of everything that I accumulated.
Did I give you the best information out of all the people?
It was all very similar, yeah, it was good. It was good. It was good.
Well,
for sure.
I guess we'll see after you operate.
You liked
Yeah.
the deal. When he called you, you liked the deal.
Oh, he loved it.
Right out of the gate?
Well, Trevor, though, he doesn't know if he likes it or not until he gets his laptop out and starts putting it in an Excel sheet and starts calculating.
What did you like about the deal?
I like that Chad was buying a deal.
That's a good reason. That's a good reason to do a deal.
Yeah, I mean, he brought me the rent roll and stuff, or you kind of asked me questions as you were going along. I just like asked for this, and this, and then he would bring something back and be like, okay, I have these questions, and then he would copy and paste my message to him probably and send it to someone else, and then go from there.
No, everything else I had was a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So I talked to Gabe about it.
Yeah.
After a meeting one morning. But yeah, it was, you have to have, I'm not an expert at buying real estate. In fact, I don't want to be an expert. I have friends that's what they do for a living. I don't know why I need to learn those skill sets. when I can lean on them.
You
I
better
certainly
keep these friendships you got right
yeah,
here.
I certainly hope that if one of them needed construction, they wouldn't be like, oh, I can do this, I don't need Chad's help, that they'd call me, and that would happen that way. So I don't want to be an expert. I don't want to know everything. I'd rather just lean on the people I know that know what to do. If I'm going to go buy a big apartment complex, I'm going to call Gabe because you don't know what you're doing. If I'm going to buy,
And then Gabe's going to call me.
If I'm going to buy a single family home, I'll call Vesta, and then they'll transfer me to you, and then I'll.
All right, cool, man. Okay, so you figure out, like, they give you these terms, you call us, and we talk through the deal, some pros and cons or something.
Yeah.
Or what do we do next?
Yeah. So it was talking through the deal, just seeing what it looked like, what the potentials were. The other thing about it is all the other tenants in the building. So the person that was going to stay, that owned the building now, was going to maintain and take about 45% of the office square footage and like 35% of the warehouse. And then all the other tenants were like half a market rent, right? And so that posed an opportunity for some value to be added there.
So were you buying it at a price that was based on the current performance?
No, not really. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. I don't really know how to like break that down to tell you the way that you guys speak about it, but I know that the way that it worked out, like paying my payment and what they were generating, that they were using those numbers to kind of reflect like they were going to get market rent at the beginning. So we had to work backwards.
They wanted to price it like they had a retail rent roll in there, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Could you go build these buildings and pave this all this acreage for what you paid for it?
This is one of the first questions that Trevor always asks me, and he asked me on this building too. And there's no way. I mean, there's no way that where it's located, that you could build probably one of those buildings. So
buy the lot, pave it, build the buildings. You'd be all in 3-4 mil or something.
Probably
it was closer to 4. I thought or 3.5 to 4 or something.
Yeah, I was thinking 4.5 if you were to replicate it.
And you bought it for how much in the end?
I bought it for 2.3.
So 2.3. They offered it 2.5. You got it for 2.3.
So that's why I thought it was a deal at first, because I was just asking what it cost to build. I was like, oh, okay. Like,
well, it's half replacement cost.
Yeah, I was like, that seems insane. But then it's like, okay, that's cool. We could buy this deal that's half replacement cost. But how do you exit? Like, how do you hold on to it?
Well, if he's the end user, you're putting MCG in there.
Yep.
To take up how much of it?
We'll take up 2,000 square feet of the office and 2,000 square feet of the warehouse.
So a quarter of the office, 20% of the warehouse.
Yep.
So you're a minor user. Your majority of is a rent roll coming in from other tenants, and you plan to keep those tenants in place and raise their rent, or are you kicking them out, or what's happening? Or can you not say?
So there's only 2 tenants left basically. One of them, they're both half a market. One's a good tenant. One's probably not such a good tenant, and so I'll tell them their rent's going to market. And if they decide to move out, they
can either pay market or move.
Yeah. There would be no reason that I would take frontage.
And you're not bound by rent control because it's not multifamily, but you're bound by your lease, and your lease is now month to month, or
they're all month to month.
Oh,
everybody in the building except for the client I bought it from that's staying, who now has a 5-year lease, is going to be or is month to month.
It's one of the complexities that makes an asset like that harder. Is your leases are all different typically.
Correct.
Maybe not at this building, but oftentimes everything's negotiated by a different attorney. It's signed on a different lease. So like when you go buy a 20-unit apartment complex, at least you're getting most of the time 20 of the same lease.
Yep.
Whereas you buy a 20-unit complex like this, and you might get 20 different side deals with everybody. Some people get escalators, some people don't. Some are month to month now.
Some are triple net, some aren't. Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting too is like a lot of times you'll find that there's AR, like there are tenants who haven't been able to pay rent, or at some point in the past they weren't able to pay rent, and the owner just like stacked it up and just said, "Hey, pay me when you can pay me," because you don't really go kick out a commercial tenant the first month they can't pay rent.
Yeah,
you work with them and stuff, and so you sometimes end up with. Was there anybody that was past due on their rent, or is everybody up? There were people past due. So how did that get handled? Was that something you're going to collect on, or is that?
No. So I bought
just
it from
waived it.
Yeah, from the point that I bought it, that was their problem. Like going forward, this was their rent. Whatever was established in their month-to-month lease rent, like whatever that number is, that's what they owe me. So again, I only have 2 tenants to deal with, and commercial's different. You know, like in residential, you guys always talk about like how hard it is, like when somebody's in, how to get them out. Commercial's a little bit different. Like you can kind of.
It's easier to get them out, but typically you don't just kick out a commercial tenant when they don't pay their rent, because it's going to cost so much in vacancy loss and TIs. You don't want them out. Like business to business tends to work together a little bit. On a residential, it's like you don't pay your rent, or we've got to evict you and move on. And then you run into, maybe you go to court if you didn't fill out a form correctly. They don't have to move. There's all these little rules that you have to follow with residential. It's a different rule set. You have a lot more government oversight, whereas on a commercial lease you really have none. It's just attorneys and stuff. But if somebody doesn't pay you, you have to decide. I watched Paul do this when he bought one of his first commercial buildings. Somebody didn't pay their rent, and on day 9 he's out, let's go put a lock on the door. It's like, that's a business in our community. You can't just go you could, but that's not really how it works. That's just not the generally accepted practice that we do when owning commercial buildings.
Okay. So you go walk it. They give you some information on it. They give you all the terms they want. You call some people. You figure, okay, this is a pretty good deal based on what I could build it for. And then I think we were looking at in terms of in case you don't own or occupy it too. Just does it make sense? And then where you get all this information, and then what do you do? Like, how do you get to your final numbers?
Well, I had to come up with a plan, which was, if I have these vacancies and I have these tenants that are existing, and I have the main tenant, right, that's taking a good portion of each building, to figure out what they were going to give me, what my payment would look like, and then what I could do with the rest of the building. So the way that we structured it is we did the first 5 years are interest only. We obviously got better terms. We bought it for less money down, less.
So how'd you do that? You just asked,
less interest rate.
You were just like, this is their starting point, like their dream scenario. They'll take less probably.
Well, no, not necessarily. I basically, after I knew that they liked me and that I was the right person then I went and sat down with the owner and I just said, hey, in order for me to buy this building, it has to make sense for me. You have to help make me successful in order for me to make this successful, right? And the terms that you guys have right now just don't make sense.
Yeah, you weren't going to cash flow.
Yeah, you're handcuffing me. And so what I need is, if you want me to improve the building and you want me to bring in good tenants, you want me to keep the place nice, and you want me to take care of your lease and you as my tenant, then I need to be successful. And the way that I can do that is for me to make it more affordable. And so, and actually I talked to Mike Nuss a bunch about this too, and he gave me some great advice too about selling the relationship. And that's what I did. That's what I think that was my only choice anyway, because I don't think I have any other tricks up my sleeve. But I met with him and told him this, and he's like, yeah, you're 100% right. And so, tell us what you offer. And so we did the 2.3 million, 5% interest only for 5 years, 25-year AM after that, and then, or 20-year, I can't remember. And then I had to put $300,000 down.
That's what you offered to them next?
Yeah, that was my offer back to them, and they accepted that.
Okay.
And this is a sale leaseback situation where the owner is going to take. Is he your biggest tenant?
Yeah. So he's the biggest tenant. So again, they occupy part of the warehouse and part of the office, and what they lease back, like their payment to me, is what my payment is to them.
So they don't raise any capital by doing this. So all they're doing is
they got $300,000.
They're converting their ownership into a note, and so they're in a pretty safe position if you default, because they can take the building back. They're already in it. Did you negotiate like certain escalators for their lease for the period of time that they're going to be? Like, did you renegotiate a lease with them as part of the sale?
Yeah. So the broker that represented me, basically, that part of their thing was that they wanted to keep their lease. The reason that they'd want to do this and make me happy as the buyer is that they wanted their lease to stay really consistent and not have the options of jumping up and down. Their business is a very consistent business, and so they just want to make sure that it's as turnkey as possible if there was a death.
So are there any escalators that go up with CPI?
Yeah, they're all like normal market. There's nothing crazy. Nothing super advantageous.
Just goes up a little bit over time.
Yep.
And it's a long-term lease?
Yep. So they have 5 year, they have an option to renew. They have I think they could technically stay in there for 20 years.
So you said the building's really robust. There's nothing there. There's no big CapEx projects coming or anything that would get them to that point where they're like, let's pass this off to a new buyer?
Oh, 100%. So I did my due diligence too. I took my plumber through there, my HVAC guys, my roofers through there. They had just 10 years ago, they put a brand new membrane roof on the warehouse building, and like 2 years ago they put a membrane roof on the office building, and they were both done by Pfeiffer Roofing here in town, which is one of the most reputable companies. So and that's who also does their business locations.
So you have CMU structures. Both are CMU?
One's CMU, one's tilt up.
Oh, tilt up.
Yep.
So you have really good structures with newer roofs, good systems. You check out plumbing, electrical, all that. And you're not concerned about if you decide MCG either outgrows this or ends up not being there, you feel like there's a tenant base for this that you can lease it out to.
Yeah. The other thing for me is, like in my world and working construction, is all the subcontractors I work with, everybody wants the same thing when it comes to leasing. Like most of these guys work out of their house or their house shop. And I think that's just like, cause they're always working and you're close to work, it's just less downtime for you. But, a lot of people do want to separate business and personal. And so my idea with the way that this building is set up, because it has so much parking, and it has the warehouse and the office, was to take one of those office. They're basically subdivided right now into 1,000 square foot in both buildings.
Perfect.
Right. And so to take 1,000 square foot of shop and 500 square foot of office and rent it to one guy, and then it's affordable.
Yeah.
It doesn't break the bank.
Yeah.
And now they have a place to park. They have a shop, and it's got overhead doors at each end of the shop. Right.
Yep.
So you could pull a truck and trailer in, load it up, pull it out the other end. There's no
and now you're mitigating a lot of your risk because you're breaking that rent roll up into multiples.
Correct.
To where one tenant leaves, you're fine. You just rent it out to the next.
So technically speaking, after MCG moves in there, I'll only have 2,000 square feet of office available, and I'll only have 3,000 square foot of warehouse available.
Do you suspect a lot of TI budget here that you're going to have to put into the building, or is it they're just going to take it as is for the most
my
part?
office will be the biggest cost.
You'll spend some money to trick yours out.
Yeah.
But it doesn't require a lot of work in TIs with each tenant that comes in. They're going to pretty much use it for the same thing.
It's already subdivided. The doors are already there. The locks are already separate.
Wow.
And on the office, honestly, if I wanted to move in the way it is, it's actually in really good shape. It's clean. It's nice. It's got, commercial finishes already. So I technically could move our office in there and not do anything, but that's not, again, it's like buying that new truck. I'm not just going to leave it stock and drive it around town. So
what are you doing with the 80,000 feet of pavement? Like, what are you going to put out there? Are you going to store stuff, or are you going to rent that out?
Well, we started talking about that too. Each one of those people that I'm thinking about leasing to would need space for their work vehicles and for trailers.
So you rent out yard space in addition, or does it go with it?
I haven't got that far.
Okay.
I'm still thinking
because you've converted your other acreage into, it's generating, you said $3,500 a month on just
parking,
place for parking. You fenced it.
Yeah, a utility company has all the big rigs and the trailers and all the extra gear.
So is there a similar play here?
I don't think so. No, okay. I don't think so. I think that it would be more valuable for the tenants to be able to use that space for extra storage. We talked about doing shipping containers, maybe even in the parking lot, doing some shipping containers, locked shipping containers. That would be nice if somebody outgrows the warehouse space or just needs storage. Because like a subcontractor, for instance, like let's say I move an electrical contractor or a plumber, they have all this pipe, right? Or these all
Where
these
do you
conduits.
put it?
They don't want it on the shop floor, and so you take that, and you could put that in. You could rent those separately, and you could put those in.
That's cool.
Put all that stuff out there.
It's interesting because you're getting into an asset where you understand the user for it really well. Like, I wouldn't buy this building because I wouldn't know where to go find the tenants, but all these tenants.
Yeah, I am that. I mean, I'm a GC, but I'm still that.
And we talked about that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to build a rent roll here, who moves in? You're like, I already know who they all are.
Yeah. In fact, the neighbor is also a large construction company. They hit me up the day I bought it and said, hey, we want to rent 4,000 square feet of your warehouse. And I was like, oh, why? What for? And they're like, well, we're building all these huge apartments in Portland, and we have all these appliances because we're behind on schedule. And so we want to rent it for like a year and put all these appliances in your warehouse. But it's not one continuous because it is broken up into thousands. And for that means I wouldn't be able to move in there. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense for me. It'd be nice to have the money, but it doesn't make sense for me.
Still feels nice right out of the gate to have a little bit of
too many people, too many prospective tenants. Yeah,
people already asking before you've even advertised it.
It did feel pretty.
So, what
good.
kind of leases are set up? They're not triple net, are they?
The tenant that sold it to me, theirs is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then do you remember what the numbers looked like when you bought, like rent roll wise, and how much money you're making and all that?
No, not really.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that my payment to them is their payment to me. So
just for the 65%.
Yeah. So if I don't do anything, if I literally just let the building sit half vacant and left the tenants half of market,
because it's triple net,
I still cash flow like $3,000 a month. Or $2,800 a month. Now, if I get rid of the bad tenants, I leave the other tenants and give them a little bump. But I kind of want to keep one of them because it's a good security tenant.
Yeah.
And then MCG goes in there, pays theirs, and then I get 2 other tenants. If my plan works the way it should, then I'll cash flow about $9,000 a month.
Okay. That's awesome on a $300,000 investment. Of course, you're going to go put a bunch of money in TIs, but that's for your own.
Only in mine.
Your space.
Yeah, and I won't go crazy, and my subcontractors will take care of me because it's my own personal space.
You said $9,000 a month, and you put $300,000 down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
30+% cash on cash.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah, Chad says he doesn't know how to do the numbers and figure out how to make money on real estate, but I think he's figured it out.
So he told the guy, he's like, 15% cash on cash doesn't work for me. I need 30%.
30%. It's got to work.
Only way I can.
It's got to work.
The only way.
I just knew the first 5 years that I would have to put some money in at some point, some turn. Right? There's a couple of failed windows, and they're in their space. The people that could afford to,
well, it's triple net, isn't it?
Yeah.
So don't they do that then?
No.
Triple net?
No. They're not required to do maintenance?
Well, they're required to do maintenance. That's part of the building, though. Like your windows, HVAC equipment.
Doesn't triple
it's
net
an envelope.
Typically?
Well, there's absolute triple net, and there's triple net, and there's double net and single net. So part of it's taxes, part of it's insurance, part of it is
envelope
maintenance, and then part of it's envelope. So an absolute triple net is like you might as well own the building because you're paying for everything.
Why don't you?
But a triple net, typically the landlord will cover. No, the landlord will cover envelope. So your roof, your siding, your windows, your parking lot, doors. Your storm drain, your doors, that sort of thing. The big stuff, plumbing, electrical.
Yep.
Okay. And there was another interesting piece of this deal because you were talking about trying to use your 401k at first, and so you learned a little bit about that. So tell us, like.
Yeah, I don't. So every time I get like $5 in my pocket, I figure out a way to spend it because I don't like paying taxes, and so I'm always like trying to buy investments, and so. When there's like, oh, you need $500,000 down, I'll partner with you. I'll give you the enough. It's like, oh, sounds like pretty good, because I don't have $500,000. And so I had my 401k sitting there, and I had talked to Gabe a couple of times about this and heard Trevor talk about it, and Dane and Jaron, self-directing your 401k. And so I called somebody that Gabe referred me to, and I just said, hey, I want to self-direct this money. It was like $150,000. And he's like, oh, yeah, no problem. We'll set up this trust and we do this stuff, and you can take your $150K and put it towards the building, and we'll, get it set up so it's all legal and you're doing it right. And I was like, okay, great, let's do it. Well, then he started that process, and I had the other 150 in savings. And then we get down to like 2 or 3 weeks out, and he's like, well, the thing about the trust is like, you can't personally benefit from whatever you're buying it with, right?
And by that meaning owner occupied.
Meaning I can't occupy it?
Yeah.
It also means I can't work on it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a contractor. And that's a commercial building. That's what I do. Like, I'm not going to hire somebody else to go work on my building.
Yeah.
So, I almost instantly just started to get like a bad gut feeling about that. And so I gave that money to Dane.
So self-directed IRA or 401k is supposed to act like a passive investment. You have to imagine you mailed the money off to some administrator somewhere.
So that's what you did, right? You passively put it in our 66 unit that we're doing. He put it into our project up in Seaside. Yeah. So you were able to do that because you're not involved in any way on it. You're just passive investor.
He's not using his space. He's not working on the space. It's just purely a hands-off investment.
So how did you just said you had no money. How'd you get the 300 then to do the deal?
I'm creative.
You borrow it?
No. So I had part of the money, and then I borrowed part of it off one of my credit lines.
Okay.
I have multiple credit lines. I don't use them very often, but
well, 33% cash on cash probably pays for
It works.
yeah, it takes and I'll pay it back. I'll pay it back in a couple of months, but it just gives you that buffer to not have to worry about it, not feel the sense of urgency.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, credit lines are magical.
They are.
They really help people. People I know that have scaled their portfolios, that was kind of one of the either tapping into HELOC or just equity out of their houses or whatever they first started. It's just such a magical way to compound your portfolio, to be able to tap money that you're not paying interest on all the time, but when you need it, you've got it, and you just pay it back.
When I first started the business, I had never even thought of a credit line. We didn't need one. In fact, for the first 6 years of the business, I never even.
That's when you ask for one, when you don't need it.
And that's what my banker told me. My banker said, like, do you need a credit line? I was like, no, I don't want
Ask
one
for it when you're flush.
And she's like,
you had a good year. You got plenty of cash.
She said, this is when you need to get one, get signed up, and then it'll grow over the years and it'll get better. You'll have better terms and you'll be better situated. And then when the market gets crappy, you have a better chance of getting to keep it, because you have this established. And so I said, okay. And so I did it. And then until Jaron started hanging out with Trevor and Dane and talking about HELOCs every 10 minutes, then I went and I got a HELOC on my house. So I have like all these credit lines I don't ever use. But in this case, it worked out good.
So Jaron brought you in on all his deals.
Uh-huh.
How come you didn't bring him in on this deal?
He gets everything anyway.
Because I guess
it's in the will.
It's pretty good, huh? Like I just do all the work, and
except you're a pretty young dad, so he's gonna be an old man when he gets this thing.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how many miles I got left in me.
Now that you're getting in shape and taking care of your fitness,
true,
you're gonna live for a long time.
Yeah, he's probably like, just go to Burger King and eat Burger King every day. I don't want to work out with you.
He's gonna try to stress you out more.
Yeah.
Cool. So that was a cool deal. So, any questions you have on it?
No, I love it. I mean, it kind of scares me. It makes me excited just hearing you talk about it. Like it would definitely make me pucker a little bit to do that deal. It's a big deal. It's a big dollar amount. It's a big building. Like I don't know buildings like that. So that's the scary part, is not knowing. Being that you're in construction, I think what you found is that you're aligning your portfolio with your skill set and able to go do a deal that other people, it would not be offered to them, or they may not understand the structure, be able to use it, or whatever the case may be. So it's really cool to see, especially in your pawn shop and this deal, where you get to utilize your businesses and also own an income producing piece along with it. It's awesome.
Yeah. I think the warehouse space is a little underrated, don't you guys?
I do, yeah.
I think the warehouse space, if you ask somebody, like Lule built those ones out here in over off McGillcrest, 25th, off of Mission Street there, and those things filled up like instantly.
Yeah, small industrial. Because if you go out there and look for space under 3,000 feet, you can't
find it. Yeah, and so a guy that say Trevor wanted to start a little CrossFit gym. He doesn't need to lease 8,000 square feet for a little, to train 2 or 3 people or whatever. There's a lot of businesses out there that only need 1,000 or 1,500 square feet with a restroom in it and an office.
Yeah.
So I think in the commercial world, like we were just talking about earlier, I think that's where, if I were going to get excited about doing something, it'd be small warehouse space.
What's that lease for on a per foot triple net base?
I think it's it depends on there's a lot of crappy warehouse out there.
It's small, so it's got to be over $1.50 or something. Maybe?
No, it's close to $1.
Close to $1.
Theirs was like $1.25 or $1.10 or something.
So for $1,400-$1,400, well, you got triple nets in there, which are probably 30-40 cents.
Yeah, maybe? And they're all different. This is where I get when we were talking about a tilt up compared to a metal building, that's a fraction of the cost, right? And so guys that are building metal buildings can turn that out at a cheaper rent than a guy that's building the stuff that these big commercial contractors are building for these huge warehouses, right? So it's just it's different. And they're all treated it a little bit differently as far as pricing goes.
But the point is, you can get 1,000 square feet of space, a restroom, and an office for a couple grand.
Yeah.
Around a couple grand a month, which is really reasonable. A lot of people can pay.
And that's probably 70% of all people that start businesses in Salem.
It's about all they can afford.
That's what they need, and that's what they can afford.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Great. All right, should we wrap it up?
I got to go donate my money to Chad playing poker.
Oh, you guys going to play poker tonight? I am not. No. I told you I'll come quarterly.
ACDC.
Isn't Jan going to be there doing a cookbook?
Oh, yeah.
I think you got to come.
Yeah. I think you do too.
I am not giving you guys my money tonight.
If
I come, I'm going to win.
I'll take your
perfect. Yeah.
You don't need money.
I'm learning how to play poker.
Perfect. There's a new game you'll like even better.
Oh, I heard.
Yeah.
I heard.
Yeah.
Chad got me on AC Deuces.
AC Deuces.
AC Deuces.
Yeah.
Now, see, you're making him be a degenerate. We just talked about how Chad was like sober.
No.
and healthy.
I'm helping him.
He's getting
Yeah.
into fitness.
He was playing slot machines, so he was just playing all by himself, giving his money.
I think you should-
now he gives his money to his friends.
Why don't you take him for a run instead of playing poker? Wouldn't that be better for his?
He's afraid I'll beat him.
He'll die.
Yeah.
We don't want to.
He's like, I don't want Chad to get out there on 91 miles his first try.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thanks, Chad, for being on the show with us today. It's been a lot of fun talking about deals. We can't wait to do a follow-up when you get to like 20 million, which will be probably later this year.
I think 6 months from now. I'll see you guys in 6 months.
All right, Deal Junkies, thanks so much for listening. If you like this episode, please share it. If you're looking for small office TI or retail TI, reach out to MCG. What's your website, Chad?
www.mcgcorp.net, and my email is chad@mcgcorp.net.
There you have it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.